staying clear for Monday. We do have the chance for a couple of those storms to be on the stronger side later today and into tomorrow. You can see we have a marginal risk. It's the smallest chance for severe weather you can have, but it's still there, so we want to make sure you're aware of it. Great day to have the Forewarn Weather app. We are looking at the best threats for us being damaging wind gusts, large hail. Overall, the tornado risk for this round of storms is very low.
That's a 2% chance of a tornado. A lot of people say 2% chance, big deal. It's, a normal day at this time of the year would have something like less than 0.1% chance of a tornado.
I think we might actually have a tornado debris signature. Worst case scenario potentially unfolding for our friends in Three Rivers. Because this is important. We were not expecting to cover tornadoes today in Michigan, all right?
All right. Going back to radar again, we do have a tornado debris signature near Union Lake right now. That is a tornado that just dropped south of Mendon Road.
We know for a fact that this has produced a tornado. We also know that it has lifted and perhaps touched down again. So that is our biggest priority going forward right now.
Union City, with a population of just under 2,000 residents, is like a lot of small towns across southern Michigan, quiet, close-knit, and easy to overlook on a map. Early March hadn't fully shaken off winter yet, and severe weather wasn't really in most people's minds. It was just another afternoon, with people going about their routines, not expecting anything out of the ordinary. But just south, the atmosphere was beginning to change, and by the end of the day, that sense of normalcy would be shattered. On the night of March 5th, 2026, a warm front pushed by the Gulf stalled over North Indiana. By the afternoon of March 6th, it began lifting north, crossing into southern Michigan by around 3 p.m. As it moved, southerly winds pushed warm, humid air into the region, pushing temperatures into the 70s, unusual for early March in the Midwest. At the same time, the atmosphere was becoming increasingly unstable as a strong low-pressure system was pushing from the west, rapidly lifting air upwards as it moved across. Wind shear climbed to 40 to 50 knots, while Cape values ranged from 500 to 2,000 joules per kilogram. This stagnant, warm, moist air from the south, crashing into fast, upper-level cold winds, created an environment capable of supporting strong, rotating supercells, but also farther north than where we would traditionally see them at this time of the year. Ultimately, Michigan was not expecting to have a major tornado threat. Forecasts placed this high risk well into the south. A 10% tornado risk was outlined from northeastern Texas into southwest Missouri, including eastern Oklahoma and western Arkansas, with a primary tornado threat expected to happen in Nebraska, Kansas, and Oklahoma, extending into western Arkansas, Missouri, and southern Iowa. In contrast, areas like Union City were only given a 2% tornado probability, with the main concern being hail and isolated damaging winds due to projected limited instability. However, forecasters did note a conditional risk, meaning if storms are able to fully develop under these circumstances, a stronger tornado would be imminent. But residents in Michigan were already experiencing what was a relatively odd weather pattern for them. Shortly before the warm air made its appearance in the area, cold temperatures and snowfall had frozen the surfaces of the lakes. Normally, a frozen lake is a shutoff for a tornado. Tornadoes need warm, moist air to thrive. Frozen lakes prevent added moisture from being introduced into the atmosphere, and cold surface temperatures are less likely to produce the instability needed to get that supercell spinning. But the introduction of thick, warm air from the Gulf was fast in its approach and more destructive than anyone expected, giving the encroaching low-pressure front from the west the fuel it needed to start that spin. Just after 3 p.m., a supercell formed in northern Indiana and tracked along the warm front into southern Michigan. The storm quickly became organized, producing its first tornado in a residential area near Edwardsburg, traveling northeast towards Williamsville. Upon touchdown, it destroyed a residence attached garage and the front of their home, fatally injuring 12-year-old Silas Anderson. producing mainly tree damage along with minor roof damage to a few homes as it continued through the area. The tornado then widened and intensified, snapping and uprooting numerous trees while causing roof damage to several more homes and pool barns before crossing M62. It produced additional tree damage along several nearby lakes before lifting shortly afterwards at 3:35 p.m. It had traveled just over 13 miles, with a max width of 350 yards and estimated wind speeds of 95 miles per hour, marking this tornado as an EF1. But this was only the first of 4 tornadoes to hit Michigan, and the storm system was only growing stronger with every minute. As the storm moved northeast, a second funnel touched down in Fabius, injuring multiple people and damaging businesses, producing hailstones ranging from a quarter to golf ball size that fell along the supercell's path, with the largest hailstone being measured at 1.75 inches. Rapidly intensifying as it tracked northeast, it quickly entered the city of Three Rivers.
Lysandra, lock the store. You guys are chickens. Stay safe. Lock it. I'm on it. Yeah.
The tornado struck a Menards store at peak intensity, with the roof being torn off on the southeast and northwest sections of the building, and an exterior wall collapsed while several customers were inside shopping. A nearby U-Haul facility had an entire section lifted off the ground and destroyed. The tornado then crossed West Broadway Street before tracking over Three Rivers Health Hospital, which sustained EF2 damage, crossing through the central portions of Three Rivers, producing widespread EF1 damage and localized EF2 damage to homes and businesses. Numerous vehicles sustained damage, and power lines, traffic lights, and trees throughout the city were destroyed. The tornado crossed St. Joseph River before severely damaging a lumberyard and uprooting numerous trees in a cemetery. It then crossed 6th Avenue Road before striking a mobile home, completely destroying the garage and tearing off the roof. The tornado then struck a newly constructed school transportation facility, destroying the garage doors and removing the entire roof. Multiple school buses sustained damage, and several trailers were tossed and destroyed. The tornado began to track more eastward before crossing St. Joseph River for a second time, unaffected by the body of water, damaging more trees and outbuildings north and northeast of Centerville before dissipating north of Spring Creek Road at 4:07 p.m. This second tornado injured 10 people along its path, tracked 12.4 miles, hit peak winds of 130 miles per hour, and reached a maximum width of 450 yards. Not quite as long tracked as the last one, but larger and faster than its predecessor. By 4:26 p.m., a tornado warning was issued for Union City, Michigan. At 4:33 p.m., the third and strongest tornado touched down in northwest Branch County, Michigan, near Union Lake. It began relatively weak, tracing along the north side of the lake and producing EF1 to EF2 damage. A pole barn and several homes were damaged as the tornado moved east. Onlookers witnessed large chunks of ice from the frozen lake being ripped up and tossed hundreds of feet. After crossing Tootle Park Drive, it destroyed a large outbuilding and hurled a 500-gallon propane tank into a nearby field. Ground scouring was noted as the tornado rapidly intensified to EF3 strength along Prairie Rose Lane, becoming a fully condensed multiple vortex tornado. The neighborhood along Prairie Rose Lane was devastated, with 9 homes being severely damaged and some being completely swept off their foundations. All fatalities occurred in mobile homes that were completely destroyed, with several vehicles being thrown, highlighting how violent the tornado had become in just a matter of moments. A large metal outbuilding that was anchored to the foundation took a direct hit, being completely destroyed. Another home would have its slab nearly swept clean. The home was poorly anchored as sill plates were held down by screws instead of anchor bolts, as many of the affected homes were built more so as cottages comparatively to weatherproof structures. Regardless, south of said home, a well-anchored mobile home was still tossed around 100 yards, severely damaging the frame and where one fatality occurred. Subsequent nearby homes would sustain major damage, ranging from the removal of exterior walls to the collapsing of the entire structure. An anchored home was almost completely swept clean, with only a subfloor and a fireplace remaining, where a man miraculously survived. Past Prairie Rose Lane, multiple trees would have their trunks snapped. A home west of Tootle Road had its exterior walls collapse, and a barn along Tootle Road was completely demolished. But as the tornado moved into Union City, it began to weaken. Damage dropped to EF0 and EF1 intensity, but the tornado pushed forward. A downtown store had its front walls collapse, and a nearby church suffered a partial roof failure as the storm passed through the town. Shortly after leaving Union City, the tornado continued to uproot trees before finally dissipating near the Branch-Calhoun County line at approximately 4:42 p.m. Tracking roughly 5 miles with a maximum width of about 500 yards, the tornado's wind speeds peaked at 160 miles per hour. With damages marking the storm as a high-end EF3, it was the earliest in-season a tornado of this caliber had hit Michigan in its recorded history. But the storm still had a little juice left. The same supercell continued east across southeastern Michigan, producing one final weaker tornado, an EF0 in Calhoun County, before finally dissipating, marking an end to the dangerous conditions in Michigan for the day, allowing residents to finally get out of their safe spots and begin rebuilding. Around 70 homes in the Union City area were damaged or destroyed by the tornado. Trees and power lines were downed by the tornado, resulting in at least 2,000 customers losing power. The tornado was the earliest intense to violent tornado to ever occur in a calendar year for the state of Michigan, and was initially considered an EF4 rating. However, the tornado was rated an EF3 on the enhanced Fujita scale due to homes being built with older building codes and therefore having construction flaws. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer issued a state of emergency in Branch, St. Joseph, and Cass counties to coordinate an all-hands-on-deck response to the severe weather. Volunteers spent the weekend collecting and distributing supplies like food and water. Operation BBQ, a volunteer group, soon arrived in Union City and began to give out free meals to residents affected by the tornado, as well as first responders. Union City High School also offered shelter and resources to those affected. While Union City was the strongest of the March 5th through 7th outbreak, the atmosphere ended up spitting out about 30 tornadoes across the U.S. in that time frame. But those who dodged the tornadoes were hit with a backhand of winter weather. A winter storm affected much of the Rocky Mountains on March 5th through 6th. Heavy snowfall totals were primarily focused in the more mountainous regions, with accumulations of over 1 to 2 feet, the highest totals in some areas sitting at about 26 inches. In Denver, Colorado, the city received 8 inches of snow, the first snowfall in approximately 40 days, owing to a record warm winter by that point. Aside from the tornadoes and snow, the storm brought significant flash flooding. Many areas already had moist soil as a result of recent precipitation, leading to a higher likelihood of flash flooding and mudslides. The flooding led to several roads closing in Dallas, as well as one of the 10 wettest March days on record in Indianapolis and Springfield, Illinois. 3 people were injured in Rio Grande City, Texas on March 7th due to the damaging winds. Hail up to the size of softballs were also reported near Rio Grande City by the Texas Department of Public Safety. Now, I've seen a lot of people comparing the Union City tornado to prior Michigan tornadoes that took place in 1977 and in the 80s. And yes, the 1977 Kalamazoo tornado was one of the last EF4s the state has seen in recent history. And the 1980 Kalamazoo tornado was also devastating in its destruction for the time. I'm confused, though, as to why we're completely forgetting the 2022 Gaylord, Michigan tornado. I don't know if it's just the hype of saying, oh, this is the strongest tornado Michigan has seen in decades. But May 20th, 2022, an EF3 hit Gaylord, Michigan, a small town in northern Michigan. They didn't even have tornado sirens because this is the first time a tornado had ever reached this side of the state. This tornado was on the ground for 22 minutes across 17.8 miles. Wind speeds hit about 140 to 150 miles per hour, and it was over 200 yards wide. It killed 2 people and injured 44 others. The whole community came together to rebuild and prepare for the possibility that it could happen again. Places that don't normally get tornadoes are now falling into that danger zone. And while the East Coast didn't necessarily receive any major tornadoes despite the SPC outlook warnings on March 17, 2026, it's something that can happen and might happen moving forward. For decades, the highest concentration of tornadoes in the U.S. has been centered in Tornado Alley. But in recent years, research in climatology and severe weather trends suggest a shift in where tornado activity is most frequent. This doesn't necessarily mean that there are more tornadoes overall, but it does mean that they're happening in different places that people don't expect. Regions outside of traditional Tornado Alley, like the Midwest, Northeast, and Southeast, often have more trees, which reduce visibility, higher likelihood of nighttime tornadoes, higher population density, and more vulnerable housing, like mobile homes. All of these factors increase the risk, even if the storms themselves aren't stronger. Events like Union City tornado highlight this shift. A strong tornado forming this far north, this early in the year, is unusual, but not impossible. And when it happens in a place that doesn't expect it, the impacts can be worse. Ultimately, the takeaway isn't that tornadoes are suddenly everywhere, it's that the risk is changing and preparedness hasn't been keeping up. We cannot rely on tornado sirens the way we used to, but we have technology, and our phones are kind of our best bet at this point for knowing when to take cover, along with just simply being more weather aware. We live in a different climate than what our parents and their parents grew up in. Traditions are breaking, and we need to be able to adapt. But as Ryan Holiall would say, don't be scared, be prepared. The outbreak in Michigan led to the loss of 4 individuals. 12-year-old Silas Anderson, 65-year-old Penny Jo Guthrie, 54-year-old Carrie Ann Johnson, and 63-year-old William Andrew Akers. Silas was taken to South Bend Memorial Hospital, where he died from his injuries. The 6th grader was surrounded by his family at the time of his passing. Sunday, following the outbreak, Edwardsburg Public Schools released a statement, stating in part, "Our thoughts and our deepest condolences are with the student's family, friends, and classmates, and all who knew and cared about him. He was a bright and meaningful part of our Eddy community, and we know his loss is deeply felt by many. There are truly no words that can fully express the sadness and loss that our Eddy family is experiencing," unquote. His family came forward as well, stating, "At this time of tremendous grief, we mourn with others in our community who have been affected by this devastating storm." A makeshift memorial of balloons, flowers, stuffed animals, and soccer balls sits outside the house after the devastation, a symbol of strength and love amidst the wreckage. It's always tragic when there's a loss of life from these severe weather events, but it's even more devastating when it's the loss of a child. A grim reminder that events like these don't just damage buildings, they impact families and communities in lasting ways. Penny Jo Guthrie, 65, of Union City, tragically died at home from injuries sustained as a result of the tornado that destroyed her home. According to her obituary, feisty, protective, and strong-willed are just a few ways Penny's family will remember her. She was just one of those good people that you could always count on in life. She had a great love for animals, including bald eagles and white tigers. She was always watching live webcam feeds of the eagles in their nests. She spent a lot of time tending to her birds and was very involved with the Birds and Beaks Rescue and Rehab organization. Penny was always very family-oriented and loved to host the annual 4th of July party at her home. Penny was well known in the crafting world. She sold crafts at many local craft shows. Her other hobby was baking. She was a great baker, and many have received a fresh pumpkin roll from her kitchen over the years, and oh, what a treat that was. Guthrie's nephew said in a statement, "She always wanted to see her family and would do anything for them. She was a great person, and we are going to miss her like crazy." Carrie Ann Johnson, 54, died tragically from injuries sustained from the tornado. Her obituary reads, "Born in Chicago, Illinois on May 12, 1971, Carrie was known for her warm smile, generous heart, and upbeat spirit, always willing to lend a hand or brighten someone's day. Carrie loved being around the water and spent much of her career working at a marina, where her passion for boating fit naturally with her work. She enjoyed sharing laughs and playing cards with friends and family, making things with her hands, helping others, and will be remembered for her warmth, kindness, and love for animals." In a tribute, family members wrote, "Her kindness, laughter, and spirit will stay with us always." William Bill Andrew Akers, age 63, passed away tragically during the Union City tornado. At the time, he had been playing cards and sharing laughs with friends. William was kind, loving, and full of spirit. He was outgoing and enjoyed making new friends. His smile and laughter always brought joy to others. He stayed active throughout life, enjoying golf, dancing, playing cards, board, and video games, and was an avid fisherman who loved being near the water. He had a wonderful voice and enjoyed singing aloud and watching all genres of movies. Above all, William loved his children and his grandchildren. He was a wonderful father and an amazing grandfather who leaves behind the legacy of a life well lived. What happened in Michigan wasn't just another tornado. It was a redefining moment. A moment that reminds you how fast things can change. One minute, it's just another storm, and the next, your entire life has been forever changed. The lives of hundreds have been forever changed. The Union City tornado formed in a setup that wasn't expected to produce something this strong this far north. But the atmosphere doesn't follow expectations. It follows conditions. And when those conditions align, even briefly, the results can be explosive. For the people there, it wasn't about the science. It was about what they lost and what they will have to rebuild moving forward. As severe weather patterns continue to shift, events like these raise an important question. Are we prepared for tornadoes in places that don't expect them? Because in the end, it's not about where tornadoes have happened. It's about where they can happen next. Are you prepared?